You need to look at the scenery for a second, because I found this place and I've never been here before, which is crazy. I've been to different parts of this park, but this is amazing. I'm very excited because this is gonna be the first book review that I'm ever gonna publish. If you're looking for a perfect book review, this is not it. This is gonna be me ranting about the Magus by John Fowles. And also I'm gonna upload this, whether it's perfect or not, because I have to beat my perfectionism. First, how I found this book. Second, why you should read it. Then all about the book, and I'm gonna do like a non-spoiler part, and then I'm gonna do spoiler warning, and then I'm gonna talk about things which are gonna include spoilers. Let's get right into it. I finished this in about like 1.5 to 2 months, and it has been one of my favorite books ever. One of my favorite books ever. You should read this book because it's a unique experience that you won't get anywhere else. It's a sense of life that is transferred through this book. It's thoughts about lives, ideas about lives, eternal themes, life, death, love, pain, joy, interhuman relationships. I don't even know if that's a term. It really goes into the depth of what makes being a human, what makes what this human experience consists of. So I'm not going to do a whole summary, but to sum this up, basically it's about a 25-year-old young man who goes on an island on not vacation, but he works there as a teacher, and there's like a solitary island in Greece where not many things are happening, and he goes there and he meets a rich old man, and this rich old man involves him into a game of mystery and adventure. More and more reality and surreality intertwine, and he is not sure anymore what is real and what is not. And this older man gives him puzzles, and more and more puzzles get put in front of him. There's plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, and you're never steady on your feet, and you never know what's coming and what's happening and what's gonna happen. But it's really interesting. It's like a thriller, but it's also very stylistically well written. Also, another thought is just that talking about literature, talking about writing and thinking about these things, you realize that somebody who has written such a book like this could only have been written by an older person, because you can only describe life so well, and the experiences that are contained in it. You can only write these things so precisely and describe things so that they don't lose meaning and still contain the spark of life that they can. You could only do things like this if you have lived a lot, and if you have seen things, and if you've experienced things. And so that's a feeling that I get through this book, which makes it valuable also. So I can wholeheartedly recommend you read this. You will be taken for an adventure. You will be taken in suspense. You will wonder what's happening but not sure. You will be given nuggets of wisdom, thoughts about life, rethink how you would have acted in situations where there's correlation maybe to your life. Also, another thing that I really liked about this book was these themes of mystery, of legends, of fairy tales, where if you have ever read classical texts, and then you're gonna rediscover them in here, because there's many parts where they get reworked and they're referenced, but they're referenced in a way in which you can understand it still. And so it's a very enjoyable and fluid reading experience. You can read it everywhere and you will enjoy it everywhere. And as you can see, I took this has some wear in it, which is nice. Also, I read this, it was so good, I read it, and it started to rain, and this page is crumpled. And forever, the rain that fell into this book will be forever on this page. And it will be forever wrinkled and always remind me of that cafe outside where I sat, where the book was so good that I did not put it away when it rained. So much for not being melodramatic. Later on I'm also gonna put in and read you a story, which is like 2-3 pages, which is a short story, short fairy tale about life, about everything actually, and about whatever you decided to be. And I think it's gonna be very valuable. So another reason I like this book a lot is the love story. There's multiple love stories. The moments and space between humans, how it was described. Also there's a chapter about hypnosis, which reads like a psychedelic trip, and in which eternity and nothingness gets described. It's also one of the best pieces of text and literature that I've read. Talking about chapter 36 for your reference. This fairy tale, it's called The Prince and the Magician, and I'm very excited to read this to you. I had read this before I even read the book, and it was one of the reasons why I read the book. The Prince and the Magician. A fairy story on 3 sheets. Once upon a time there was a young prince who believed in all things but 3. He did not believe in princesses, he did not believe in islands, he did not believe in God. His father, the king, told him that such things did not exist, as there were no princesses or islands in his father's domains and no sign of God. The young prince believed his father. But then one day the prince ran away from his palace. He came to the next land. There, to his astonishment, from every coast he saw islands, and on these islands strange and troubling creatures whom he dared not name. As he was searching for a boat, a man in full evening dress approached him along the shore. "Are those real islands?" asked the young prince. "Of course, they are real islands," said the man in the evening dress. "And those strange and troubling creatures? They are all genuine and authentic princesses." "Then God also must exist," cried the young prince. "I am God," replied the man in full evening dress with a bow. The young prince returned home as quickly as he could. "So you are back," said his father, the king. "I have seen islands, I have seen princesses, I have seen God," said the prince reproachfully. The king was unmoved. "Neither real islands, nor real princesses, nor a real God exists." "I saw them. Tell me how God was dressed." God was in full evening dress. Were the sleeves of his coat rolled back? The prince remembered that they had been. The king smiled. "That is the uniform of a magician. You have been deceived." At this, the prince returned to the next land and went to the same shore, where once again he came upon the man in full evening dress. "My father, the king, has told me who you are," said the young prince indignantly. "You deceived me last time, but not again. Now I know that those are not real islands and real princesses, because you are a magician." The man on the shore smiled. "It is you who are deceived, my boy. In your father's kingdom there are many islands and many princesses, but you are under your father's spell, so you cannot see them." The prince returned pensively home. When he saw his father, he looked him in the eyes. "Father, is it true that you are not a real king, but only a magician?" The king smiled and rolled back his sleeves. "Yes, my son, I am only a magician." Then the man on the shore was God. The man on the shore was another magician. "I must know the real truth, the truth beyond magic." "There is no truth beyond magic," said the king. The prince was full of sadness. He said, "I will kill myself." The king, by magic, caused death to disappear. Death stood in the door and beckoned to the prince. The prince shuddered. He remembered the beautiful but unreal islands and the unreal but beautiful princesses. "Very well," he said, "I can bear it." "You see, my son," said the king, "you too now begin to be a magician." How was that for a fairy tale story? I've read this multiple times. I don't really want to talk too much about this story after, because I think it's a very individual thing that everybody could think for themselves and interpret for themselves. But it's just one of the gems that are buried in this book, and which you should read, and which you should enjoy, and which you should add to your collection of beauty and power within yourself. I hope you see me well despite sun going directly into the camera. So now we're gonna get into the spoilers. So I was like stricken back and forth again. I don't even know if you say this in English. It was a plot twist after plot twist, and you thought you knew what's going on, you didn't. Also, towards the end of the book, there's this scene where he reunites with Allison. He's standing on this big plain of grass in this famous park in London, whose name I've forgotten. It described so well the relationship between man and woman and how fragile it is and how much depends on nuances and how things are, can be, or could have been, and how big the question is if things can be restored or not, and how small a difference, how close you can be and also how apart you can be, and how much you can be both of those things in the same instance. This trial scene was also completely metaphysical and astonishing and interesting to read and to experience. I really hadn't read a book like this before. It's really an adventure and a piece of art. It's a piece of art that you should consume, a piece of art that you should let into your consciousness and that you're not gonna regret letting into your consciousness. If you've read it, comment below. If you are gonna read it, comment below. Apart from that, look at this amazing park. It's wild, and I'm so lucky. Take from life and give to life what you can and what you want. So best regards, bye. That's also one of the biggest parts. Oh, there's a duck. Oh my goodness, there's a duck. Come here. Come, yeah. It's gonna come here because I'm the duck caller. Okay, so the ducks and me are old, very old comrades. We share a bond that is undisturbed by time and space continuums. I'm talking absolute nonsense. So back to the topic.